Hey, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever kind of day. And welcome to An Ordinary King. So today's episode, I am very excited and humbled to bring on a guest that I've been trying for a long time and been chatting to for a long time to try to get on, which is really cool. Her name is Danielle Joan Pollock. She is an entrepreneur and a business owner of Radiant Soul, which is a yoga studio in Port Melbourne. She previously, though, she comes from a very successful background in advertising and marketing, working for a large international company. She's a wonderful example on how to transition or successfully transitioning in life from one career to another and following your dreams and passions and how this can affect you personally and the people around you and what that sort of looks like. We also talk about what it feels like taking a leap into that unknown and going from one day having security and then making the decision to take that leap of faith on a change and a feeling and how that fear and lack of trust, or how a fear and lack of trust in yourself can affect that. I think this is a really great podcast. If this is something that you or someone that you know is going through this exact kind of thing where they feel landlocked or trapped in a life that they're not entirely happy with, and they don't feel like they're chasing their dreams and their passions. So if that is, and it's not, I'll pass that on. That'd be great. Anyway, here it is. Buckle up, great episode. Here she is, Danielle Joan Pollock. And there we go. Boom.
Brilliant.
We're live. Hey.
Hi. How you going?
Thank you for jumping on the show.
Thanks for having me.
My silly little podcast.
Nothing is silly about it.
No. How are you?
I'm good. I've had one yoga class this morning, one coffee.
Did you teach it? Or you?
I taught it. Yeah. My little baby class. It's like a pet project.
Baby class?
Yeah, there's not many people rock up to it because I think people are not necessarily scared of it, but there's a little bit more space in it. So it's not a flow class, it's a hatha and meditation class. So it's not just like vinyasa flow, you move to the next pose and you get to just flow through all the things that come up. You hold it for a little bit longer and you feel it. So it's a little bit of a slower,
stretchy
momentum class. Yeah, but you're in a warrior 2 for a good 10 breaths. So
that's a good hold.
Yeah, giving you space and actually working on your alignment and all of that stuff that you take for granted when you're in a flow class.
The very first yoga class that I ever did was one when I was studying, and in New Zealand, and we did it for 2 years, and that was, I forget what the name of it was, but it was like into position, hold. Like you did a bit of flow and then into position and hold, and you would hold it for like, a while, a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, maybe more sometimes. Yeah,
it could be hatha or it could be Iyengar.
Sure.
There's a lot of
there's so many.
yogas.
Why is there so many?
It's because it's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and there's been many, many different people that have picked it up and branched out on their own and created their own thing. So there's, Iyengar and Hatha, which are like avenues of where it's all kind of started. And, we think about Bikram, that's another avenue as well. So there's modern versions of it as well.
Oh, so Bikram's a modern one. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to get you on the show that we just chatted about previously was because you're a career changer. You've had a pretty successful career previous to owning a pretty successful yoga studio here in Port Melbourne, and you're pretty still fresh. It's still 6 months since you took it over, which is pretty new, but it's the popularity has it's just grown dramatically, hasn't it? Pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's an amazing little studio. And straight off the bat, I've got to say that for me, one of the main reasons why I like going to the studio is because you've got good teachers that like focusing on technique and maximising your output with your input. It's clean. It doesn't feel like you're doing yoga at the bottom of a 400-year-old ship that's sailing across the ocean. Yeah, and it's just a nice modern... And that was the other thing for me as well, is like a lot of yoga studios, there's a huge focus on the spirituality side of thing, and I'm not a spiritual person. So I like doing yoga for myself and for my health and for my flexibility. And and I feel like when I go personally to do the yoga, there's no pressure on the spiritual side of things. You can go just to do the yoga, which I love. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's why. So yeah, so let's...
Well, that's basically all the reasons what I love about the studio as well.
Sure.
It's a clear space. There's no alternative that we're putting onto people to like be someone else or buy into the spirituality side of things. If you want to subscribe to it, that the teacher will, feather throughout the class, because like we can't deny the fact that yoga has come from this
spiritual
philosophy focused spiritual place.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be an element of it, but it's just how you can choose to accept it when you're in the class. It just comes from the teacher. It's not necessarily bombarded onto you as you walk into the space. You just get to be who you are in there.
It's great.
I love that it's clean as well. Oh,
it's so nice. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Well, I have an army of karma yogis that help me there. So
really,
very important part of the business. Yeah.
So let's backtrack then. Let's talk about
Rewind.
you. Yeah, let's talk about you, and let's talk about your journey into your first career and sort of why you took that.
Well,
and what you did.
First career officially was advertising. But if we backtrack again, straight out of uni, I worked at the Hyatt. Yeah, at Grand Hyatt doing food and beverage service. So
Crazy.
I was in a hospitality job.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was just a job. It wasn't anything more than that. It gave me the place to move out, come into the city, find who I was.
Yeah.
I had no interest in going to uni at that point in my life. And as an 18-year-old making money in the city, I was like, maybe I can be in hospitality. I can do hospitality. Yeah, I could like work myself up the ranks. And for a couple of years, I, danced around the different departments and had a ball whilst doing that. But then it was, I was ready to go to uni and looked at things that I really enjoyed, and advertising popped up, and I don't know why it really did, but I always really dug ads. I always really liked a good ad that made me giggle. Like the stupider the better.
What was your favourite? What kind of ads?
Oh, just anything
like
really.
the Marty Fly ad sort of stuff.
Yeah,
did you like that?
Stuff like that. And there's one that was for Hyundai Excel.
A Hyundai ad, right?
Yeah, or maybe something like that.
I know what I
and
mean.
it was all just like designed really well, and all these colours in it, and it just struck my attention.
I'm going to say the ad worked really well on you.
Yeah.
Did you buy a Hyundai?
No, I have never bought Hyundai, and maybe one day. It's a long-term strategic plan that they've got there for me.
They've definitely planted the seed, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've planted the seed, and maybe 40 years later that'll kick in. I'll be like, oh yes, that worked.
That's right, I should buy a Hyundai.
Yeah. I started advertising. I did a diploma in advertising, and it was great because diploma, it's TAFE, but it's so hands-on. It was so good. It's just a 2-year course and so intensive, so everything of the industry.
Sure.
Learning from people that were in the in agencies. They have experience, really in depth. Get to work on real briefs and things like that. So throughout that, I worked on every type of part of the advertising industry, being creative, account management, strategic planning, media, production. Got to taste it all. I ended up in account management, of all things.
Yeah. And was it something that you naturally? Was it something that?
Yeah, it's pretty natural for me. I like being organised. I like doing things, getting kind of being part of the project and making it happen, and you know, having that client relationship's really organic for me and really natural, and just being a people person, and you know, it's, I guess for me, easier than coming up with ideas. Yeah.
Really?
At that point in my time. Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Spreadsheets. Oh, love a spreadsheet.
I cannot work a spreadsheet out if I can save
you know,
myself.
There was a course, like a class that we did, which was all about Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I know everything. Oh, give me a formula. I will work that out. And that has come in really handy today as well. But yeah, so straight out of that course, I got a job before I graduated, which was awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on.
So basically graduated the one day or the last class of that year, at the end of the year, and went to my first job the next day, pretty much.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to sort that out.
What was it?
It was an account executive position at an agency called Bundy Agency in Melbourne, or in St Kilda. It was nice, close to home. It was brilliant.
So going straight into an executive role, is that?
Okay, so here's the trick. Okay. So advertising titles are kind of around the opposite way. So executive sounds like it's a really high up job.
That's what it is.
No, it's like down. It's down. It's down. It's
way down.
It's the like beginners. Yeah.
Is that like
junior
a false
burgers.
hope thing?
I don't know why it's like that. Yeah, it's kind of strange. Maybe false hope.
So what do they call people in the normal executive?
So it goes account executive, account manager, senior account manager, account director, senior account director, group account director, and then your managing director.
God.
Yeah, CEO, all of that stuff. So step by step. So you lose the executive, but you're just a director. So.
It's really weird.
Very interesting. But yes, that is the kind of question that everybody says. And, you know, parents are like, oh my God, you're an executive already? Like, yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Well, I am, yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't hold that senior-esque title for very long. I got promoted into an account manager pretty soon, within 3 months. So
because you could spreadsheet.
Because I could spreadsheet, because I just had that attitude of get shit done, really. That's been my thing always. So that was awesome. I got promoted within 3 months and kind of really owned that position.
Yep, cool.
The good thing is as well, it was a smaller agency, so there was a lot of things that I could do. I got to taste production. I got to really work with creative teams and work with the managing director as well. So I really got to have an in-depth experience whilst there.
Crazy.
And whilst I was there as well, I was also studying part-time with my marketing degree. So if we think about advertising account managers, they work very closely with people who work in marketing at client side. So,
and this was like part of the goal, part of the road that you wanted to take.
Yeah. So it was a strategic move to get the degree under my belt, but also really understand what the client wants from that marketing point of view. So it's given me those marketing skills that are handy today, and really kind of solidified that position that I had in advertising. Yeah,
crazy. And then
so I was there for about 5 years, and less than that actually, just less, and had a little bit of, you know, that age of 25 being like, oh, what am I doing? Been in this job for ages.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah. So I, at that point, I quit and was going to become a model. And I did pretty well. I didn't do huge things, but I really enjoyed it and somewhat supported myself through that. But also freelance part-time in advertising.
Sure.
Account management isn't really a thing that you can freelance easily.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking on a longer-term role, and it just kind of swung into more of a full-time thing, and I ended up back in the advertising industry. But it's one lesson that I learnt, I'm glad that I learnt after doing my second attempt of leaving the industry, was... No, I just wasn't ready then.
Sure.
And I think a little bit more age, a little bit more experience to really hone in on skills was really important, and ensured that, now I'm a little bit more set up. So yeah, then I just kind of went through a few different roles in advertising, moved up the ranks.
Senior executive.
Yeah, that's right. Really senior.
Group executive, senior.
Yeah, vice principal. Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. Principal. So my last job in advertising at this point in my life was at a place called McCann. So they're a big multinational agency.
Is that the frozen vegetable?
No, that's McCain.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, McCann. You might know it from Mad Men.
Okay.
They refer to McCann as the kind of not the nice people.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
We mean business. Yeah, from a worldly point of view, it was, and especially back in the 60s when Mad Men are talking, it was very much cutthroat and operating not without the soul that Don Draper had. So that was fun. I worked on a whole bunch of clients there, mostly some clients that did good for the world as well.
Sure.
Not always, not all clients did good for the world, but the ones that did good for the world, I was really interested in.
So a tiny bit of soul.
A tiny bit of soul, yeah. That was Responsible Gambling Foundation, so making sure that those poor souls don't lose more money and really supporting them. Really good behaviour change campaigns, and I really enjoyed working with real people and, experiencing all their feels that they had been living with. And then I moved on to a little something called L'Oreal. You might know it.
I do,
Yeah, and that was great. I really enjoyed that, but, when we think about that kind of organic nature and all of those things that I enjoyed working on with those other clients, it wasn't quite the same. It was very business and chemically and yeah. And so eventually I just realized that this isn't really what I want to do. Sure. And I had toyed around with the idea of quitting for a while. Would say it quite often. I just want to quit. When you're at your desk and you're working, you're just like, why am I doing this? All these, stories that you tell yourself and you want to get out of it. And then one Monday morning, about this time 3 years ago, I just said to my partner in the morning, I was like, I'm going to quit today. I'm going to write up my letter and I'm going to quit. And I did that. I handed it in. I had 4 weeks there to go and just kind of wrapped that up, and it was amazing. All the weight was coming off my shoulders. Mind you, I had nothing lined up. Nothing. I had no idea what I was going to do come the end of my contract. 4 weeks, yeah. No idea. So I would, at that point I didn't know if I wanted to keep working in advertising or move to something completely different. You were completely opening a door into a dark room. I had no idea. So you didn't even know what was in the room. I'm just going to step through. And I was taking interviews at other agencies, but it all started to be like same, different place. Yeah, for sure. Amazing clients and all this jazz, but still not really quite what I wanted. And what do you think that is? What were you? This goes back to that decision that you made. Was there a pen decision that coined that thought of like, or was there like a small build up of moments where you're like, I just don't think that I'm 100% happy in my life. Like this part of my life, cool, I'm good, but there's something else now, and I think I need to change something. Was that what that was, or was there a? Yeah, I think it was a build-up of things. Sure. I started to realise that I didn't enjoy working for someone else. I wanted to be my own boss. Okay. I started to realise that I like working out of different places. Even though I like structure and spreadsheets and all of that stuff, I like there to be a little bit of difference. Sure. Not always the same, and going to the same place, sitting under the same lights, hearing the same people and their crap all the time. Like it wasn't feeding the things that I needed. Sure. So at that point I probably didn't know that though, but wasn't progressing or wasn't kind of pushing on with the interviews after the first few visits with people, because it just wasn't the right fit. They knew as well, but
you weren't in it.
And so it was really interesting kind of getting that feedback. Yeah, that's right. And even though I was keen as beans during the interviews and could see myself doing it, you know, it's amazing what you can tell yourself.
Do you walk out of those interviews and just go, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. It's like, why am I trying this? And you know why? Because of the money. There's that stability, the security of like, you know, come 4 weeks. I have no idea where my next pay is going to come from. So let's get this show on the road and find a solution to kind of Band-Aid fix this problem.
Sure. And the Band-Aid fix was the more interviews. More interviews,
like having a sense of purpose, or having a sense of like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. And also having a sense of answering this question of, oh, what are you doing after you leave?
How often did you get that?
Oh, so often.
How was the conversation with the family and friends about, is that something that you talked about early with them, was like, I think I'm going to do this, or after, because it was quite a spontaneous decision to like write the letter, hand it in.
Yeah.
So the conversations after that, how were they?
They were pretty good. Everyone kind of got it.
Sure.
Yeah, which is refreshing because it like reassures me that this is what I'm meant to be doing.
The decision. Going ahead with the decision. Yeah, sure.
So it didn't come as too much of a surprise, which makes me also think like, oh gosh, have I just been so stressed and like not seeing everything for the last little while, but progressing on with the way that I should be living my life, should have the full-time job, the security, all of that jazz. Not necessarily for me.
Do you think this is something, stepping outside of that a little bit, do you think this is something that's becoming more and more common this day and age? Is like people are starting to shed full-time responsibility as a goal, or as a necessity, in life is probably a good way to put it.
I think a necessity in life, it doesn't have to be that way. For a while, for a long time, you know, in our generation especially, we've been told that we should have a degree, we should go to uni, we should be progressing on this path which is kind of been designed for us.
Yeah.
But with that, we lose a little bit of ourselves and what comes naturally to us as well.
Like instinct?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're, you know, it's not for everybody as well. Like, I want to make that clear. Like, it's, you know, not everyone needs to quit their jobs and become, like, it doesn't work like that. But it's like, it's, because some people really thrive in that structured environment.
I agree,
But it's not for everybody. It's just like, you know, not everyone has to go to uni. Not everyone has to do all the same things.
Yeah.
It's what makes the world a wonderful, different, unique place. We're not all cut from the same piece of the puzzle.
I guess the main thing is having confidence in decisions that you make.
Yeah.
And knowing that if there's something that you want to think, or if there's something that you want to do in your life, whether it's career or job or activities or hobbies, or that you can have confidence in, or taking confidence somehow, or finding confidence in, or self-reassurance that that you want to do that, and that you can strive for whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, and like having a little bit of like that trust in yourself, and taking the time to understand what you actually want is really important as well. So I jumped the gun probably. I knew that it was, you know, I needed to get out in order to find myself. And, you know, you can't always go, it doesn't always work the way that you plan. But, you know, if you can just take a little bit of time to work out what you actually want, then you can start finding them as well. And
because that doesn't always necessarily mean a career, as in like what you want in life. It could be like a combination of things.
Yeah, that's right. You know, relationships, friendships, family, work, health, all of that sort of stuff. If you can just take a moment to step out of your own bullshit and
figure out what your core values are.
Yeah. So I did a lot of work with my core values, and everything that I now work towards comes back to those sort of things.
Sure. Is that something that you obviously revisit quite a bit then?
Yeah.
So going on to so that decision, that 4-week period, and then the job interviews that you did, and then felt guilty about. What was next?
What was next was the Saturday after my last day. I saw an ad on Instagram.
These ads keep popping up.
Yeah,
don't
they work a treat. Yeah, strategy. Yeah. For a yoga teacher training.
Sure.
And I had been doing yoga for ages at that point, and was always just a thing that I really enjoyed doing. Had thought at one point, oh, maybe I could be a teacher. Like, one of my friends was a teacher. I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And because I had the time, because I had the money, because it was starting next week, I thought, I'm just going to do it.
Sure.
So I signed up, and
spontaneous was working for you.
Yeah. So I did that was a 4-month or so teacher training over on the weekends, quite intense weekends.
Sure.
All day, Friday night, all weekend. And I said to myself, I'll just find some freelance ad work in the meantime, and did that. That carried me through, and then I kind of wrapped up the freelance and finished my teacher training, and there I was.
How long was the course?
4 months.
4 months?
Yeah. So my intention was to teach straight away and just keep that up and build momentum, but I never wanted to be a full-time yoga teacher. It was not something that interested me, yeah. A lot of running around town, studio to studio, wasn't something that I wanted to do. But the business of yoga really interested me.
Why?
Comes back to that account management side of things.
Spreadsheets.
Loved a spreadsheet. So it just, like, having that business side, like the business background that I had, and applying that to the health and wellness industry.
Sure.
Something that's kind of sparked, insight inside me. So from there, I started my own little agency. And gathered a few health and wellness clients, which I did a bunch of different stuff for. So,
what do you mean?
So I was, their photographer, or did their marketing, like email marketing, digital marketing.
Sure, yeah. Like an advertising agency.
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
Like a mini agency. So I could do everything, and because I'm not just the account manager. I can do other things as well. I know.
Sure, yeah.
I can, I could get on the tools of Photoshop or put an email through MailChimp and things like that. So I was very handsy, and I could do these things for these health and wellness brands that had no idea what they were doing. So I built that little business side of my life, and that's where I was going. Mm-hmm. I also created I also recognized at this time that all of these yoga teachers are coming out of yoga teacher trainings and starting their careers in teaching yoga, and even the ones that are more senior have been teaching for a while. They have no idea what their brand is. They don't have anything. Their individual brand. Sure. Every yoga teacher is their own individual brand. So I created a branding and marketing workshop for yoga teachers, and would deliver that to new teachers, experienced teachers, so they can kind of establish their own core values and what they actually stand for, and how that relates to the classes they teach and the classes that they seek from studios. Sure. Or what else they can offer to the world.
Because a lot of people that go to studios because the teacher's there. Yeah, that's one way to seek a studio or seek an experience at a studio. It's not necessarily about the studio from the yoga side of things. Sure.
You will follow a teacher around as well.
Yeah.
So you'll always go to Sally's class because you like Sally. If Sally left that studio, you might try and find where else she teaches.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's a thing. And then with Instagram and marketing and subsidizing income, you need to be a brand.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you need to at least have an idea of what you offer.
Yeah.
So it's not a web of all of the things, single-minded. Pull it back to your core offering. So I created that and helped a whole bunch of people out with developing their yoga brand, which was cool because it was like all the things, my yoga and my advertising experience all coming together to create this little baby.
Do you think there was an element of reluctantness to transition into focusing on a brand as a yoga teacher because of the spiritual headspace that goes along with being inside the yoga world? Like sticking it up the big man kind of,
Yeah, big time. There was reluctance, or there's this, the ego. Even though we say that we don't have ego, the ego gets in the way. I don't need that. But what they don't realize is that everything is, like, everyone can be a brand, or everything that they do is coming back to their soul offering.
Do you think that brand's a dirty word?
Yeah, it could be. It's probably not the right word to coin what they do or to market it. Yeah.
Because it feels corporate-y. It feels monetized. It feels
commercializing
like,
it.
Yeah, it goes back to that thing that we were talking about earlier about the freedom movement within yoga and people using that spirituality and the free loving kind of lifestyle to their advantage, and sometimes a negative way on other people.
Yeah.
So what if the ego?
Yeah, the ego gets in the way, but the truth of the matter is, it's 2019. We're not 1,000 years ago being yoga teachers here. We have to actually kind of smarten up our game so we can find a successful space in the industry. There's a lot of yoga teachers out there. A lot. Melbourne is one of the most, the highest amount of graduating yoga teachers every year coming out of it. It's crazy.
How many of them going into work versus how many of them are just doing it for passion?
Yeah, that would be a good thing to work out. I don't know that off the top of my head, but out of my course that I did, there were 13 people. I would say 5 or so are teaching, and that's not necessarily full-time or main source of income. It's just for themselves.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
The rest of them have just done it because they loved yoga and they wanted to know more about it, which is another cool thing about a yoga teacher training. It doesn't have to be teacher training. You're just learning all about this practice that gives you lots of joy.
And more of an in-depth course than...
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you get your certifications if you do want to teach.
It'll last for life.
It will last for life as long as you update with your first aid and those sort of creds
really?
as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, first aid, insurance, all of that stuff. Got to have that stuff.
Speaking of insurance, is this something that gets brought up a fair bit with people's insurance policies, private health insurance and stuff like that? Because yoga is still one that fluctuates and doesn't get put into the other category or the the what do you call it, the remedial sort of
that side of people's policies with their health insurance.
Yoga sort of gets overlooked a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is overlooked. It's not part of it, or some people would have it as part of it. I know some studios say private health insurance covered. I haven't had anybody from my experience in the gig so far reach out and say they need anything for it, but it is one thing that's overlooked, absolutely.
Because it'd be good if your private health insurance could subsidise some of the subscription.
Yeah, some students' workplaces do subsidise for them, so I have to make sure that they get the receipts and things like that.
Yeah,
but that's their workplace, that's their work agreement.
It's not health insurance.
No.
The health insurance thing is a funny one because for example, feet. If you go to a foot surgeon, generally foot operations or foot stuff to do with your feet is seen as elective surgery. So a lot of private health insurances won't cover it.
That's crazy.
It's your feet.
We walk on our feet every day. We need our feet.
Yeah, it's seen as elective.
Wow.
Like plastic surgery, and I think that because I know that my health insurance doesn't cover me for yoga. It doesn't subsidise, but I think it's crazy. Do you know there was a really interesting I watched a TED talk about this guy that was talking about health insurance, private health insurance, and how we're digressing, and about how to think differently about how the foundation of private health insurance works. So at the moment, how it works, someone gets sick and put in hospital, the private health insurance gets paid, rebate, government, plus the annual subscription from the person. He was suggesting that what a different way of looking at it is that private health insurances would get paid or would get reimbursed for keeping their people healthy, so that they've got more of an invested interest in keeping their clients healthy, rather than having an invested interest once they get sick, then they get rebated. So remodeling it.
Having a positive effect on the process.
But I mean, therefore, there'd be a lot of bias in terms of like how you could get health. Like if you smoked, for example, like that, you probably couldn't get health insurance because
you're rewarded for doing. You're rewarded for being an active person, being a healthy person.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and it was an interesting take on private health insurance, and it's not something that I think is thought of at the moment, because healthier people tend to live for longer. Sure, there's like extenuating like sometimes if you're going to get cancer, you're just going to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're going to get hit by a bus, it's not really, I mean, stop looking at your fucking phone. But, you know, you can't see if a piano falls from the sky and hits you, it's just your day.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, like I see yoga for me, like I was saying earlier, I see it as like my personal well-being, health and well-being. That's something that I really focus on a lot, is food and health, exercise. I want to live for as long as I can. You know, I don't want to get to 70 and still be able to move.
Yeah.
So I see yoga as a valuable.
Well, that's one of the things. Like, it is a fitness. It is something that is a whole body, holistic approach to being a healthy person. You're not just, you know, doing a pump class and smashing out some weights and things like that. Like, you're actually focusing on body and mind together.
Yep.
There is a barrier that is there with yoga, though, for, you know, the other people that haven't taken it up yet, which is the spirituality side of it. So everyone, you know, they think yoga and they think it's wishy-washy, and they're going to be speaking about spirituality the whole time, and they have to do chants and mantras and ohms at the end of it. Like, not everyone buys into that.
Is that one of your biggest hurdles as a person going through in a modern world, as a modern business owner, trying to take yoga on a more, not mass, but on a more collective,
whatever. I think an interesting take on this, or thought with this, is an experience. So we have a class called Yoga Essentials, which is a great class for beginners to come to.
Sure.
You learn the foundations. You don't have to be a beginner, but you know, you can. It's a great class to start if you have no idea what you're doing. There was one student that reached out to me saying that she's not religious and doesn't like that there are the chanting or the ohms or anything like that scattered through the class or at the end of the class. And so I had to chat with my teacher just to make sure, like, what she was doing in that class.
Sure, yeah.
This teacher, she absolutely beautiful teacher, includes the chants and mantras and things like that into the class because it's a great way of, it's a great expression of what she offers to the class, and
sure.
Students love it. Like, it's a beautiful class. You know, you start chanting and you're like, I'm in this. You know, no matter how much you buy into it, you feel that vibration of it through your throat, and you're like, yes, I'm in. But for an absolute beginner, they're like, what the hell is going on?
Especially someone that's not a spiritual person. Yeah.
So I had to, we had to rethink about, what we do offer in that class and make sure it was, completely blank canvas. So no one's really getting that overwhelming component of spirituality or heaviness or philosophy that it's going to take away from the benefits of yoga practice in their body.
The physical and the mental benefits. Yeah. Because, I mean, aside from, like, I still find yoga a massive mental benefit, because the breathing, the focus on breath while you're doing the exercises, so it allows your mind to switch off and calm down and just focus on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well, because that's another barrier to people too, even though you know it's not as severe as the spiritual side of things. There's that whole argument or whole thing about mental health still. So not everyone checks in with themselves and just make sure that they have a happy mind, that they know what thoughts are running through their head. They will just keep going and going and going. And yoga has those breaks, has a time to breathe. And when you breathe, what do? You think. And if you don't like those thoughts, you can either just breathe through it, or you can get up and leave. You know, and so people choose to get up and leave because they don't have to deal with the shit that's going through their mind.
Going back to the very first yoga class that I had when I was studying, I remember the teacher that took us, she was quite a spiritual girl. She was like, now when we start doing this, because everyone in the class was an absolute novice beginner, and she almost offered this warning when we started this class, and she was like, now some people may find this a little bit emotional because there's a lot of breath going on. I want you people just commit. You know, they're all bloody actors, so you know, anyway. So halfway through this class, we had these, as I'm doing the stretches, I hear these sobs. You know, the quiet, I'm trying not to cry sobs, and a couple of the girls had started really welling up emotionally. And when we got to the end of the class, I think the tutor, our teacher for it, had picked up on this, and so she took 15 minutes just to talk about, you know, what people were experiencing. And one of the girls was like, I don't know why, but I just started crying.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's just a breath. And some people associate that with, chakra blocks, that sort of spiritual side. But I think there's more to it than that. I think that on a physiological, biological, mental way of looking at it, I think the breath and exercise connects people a lot more to emotion than what they think. There's a lot of study at the moment that's getting done on mental health to do with diet and exercise that that people are just slowly starting to wake up to now, that there's a lot of evidence and a lot of research going into it now, like how connected, like people just think gone are the days now, I think, or transitioning are the days from the 50s to the 90s where it's like, have another pill, you know, just, you know, take this, go see a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and if you're feeling depressed and they give you medication, it's about a lifestyle change, and I think that's where a lot of mental health comes from.
Well, I did over the weekend I did a Reiki course, so I started to...
I saw that pop up on the...
Yeah, oh, that was rad. For anyone, you can just do it. You don't have to be a health and wellness practitioner. You can just do it to yourself. It's great. So anyway, I found it really interesting because, you know, I learnt that anyone can
Reiki.
Can Reiki. Hashtag. It's a hashtag. No, I don't know. It is now. But anyone can Reiki if you just tap into that mindset and, you know, believe and all of that stuff. But, you know, you can't make money from that unless...
What is Reiki?
So it's the art of healing with touch. So
sure.
It's a Japanese technique, and it's a really powerful thing. It's, you know, different to that yoga philosophy, so it's a different train, but they all lead to the same place of, you know, feeling home, you know, leading yourself back to yourself, really. And that it was just fascinating going through why this isn't more of a mainstream thing, and it's because anyone can do it to themselves. You can't, you know, it's not a pill. They can't.
So you can self-Reiki?
You can self-Reiki, yeah. You just got to tap into it.
What does that mean, tapping into?
Just your mindset, so just going through meditations and feeling the connection of your hand or any body part to just kind of self-heal. I know it sounds like woo-woo magic stuff, but, you know, you can just do it, and you can hear stories about how people have healed themselves or their family members, and that's not going to a Reiki specialist. That's just tapping in and feeling it out themselves.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've always thought about doing Reiki.
Yeah, I didn't really think about doing it until we kind of had this collaboration at the studio, and I was like, yeah, let's just do it. And it was awesome. It's one of the things that has struck me the most out of all the trainings that I've done of late.
So going back again, back to your story and back to your transition from career to career, whatever that career is, sort of narrow, whatever.
Still a career.
Is that how you view it?
Yeah, I'd still say it's a career. It's just a different career. It's not. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm not in a professional advertising job, I guess. Perhaps. Yeah, my career still stems from a bunch of values which align to me. My career path is going along that way.
Has it changed much since those 4 weeks? Since you were like, I'm going to decide to do the teaching and some of the decisions that you made, has that path altered as you've gone along? Is it like...
Not really, actually. I wanted to own a studio when I was doing the training. When I realised, like, business of yoga, this is what I want to do, and where do I want to take that? I want to own a studio.
Sure.
I don't want to be that full-time yoga teacher. I want to be in charge of running the show, have my own space, and had goals and things planned out of how to achieve it, and everything that I was doing was ticking those boxes, leading to that, which was awesome. And those really proud moments of like, yeah, cool, it's actually unfolding before my eyes. And 2.5-ish years later, I get offered to purchase a yoga studio, which I already had as one of my clients. So they were one of my health and wellness clients, which I knew the brand inside and out already, knew the business structure and all of that jazz, knew the students, knew the teachers.
Yeah. It was an easy transition.
Very easy transition. So made that happen, bought the business, took it over. From one day to the next, it just ran over to my name and finances came to me.
And
I'm just making decisions.
Involved with that.
Yeah, like a lot of luck, but then I don't want to just be like, oh, so lucky. Like, yeah, so lucky. I just like took that thing. I just so lucky it fell in my lap.
But you had to have done a lot of the work.
I worked for it, yeah.
Set up a lot of the foundations.
Yeah, and sometimes that, like, I'm glad you said that, because sometimes that luck side of it takes a stronger hold. You're just like, oh, so lucky to have that all happen. You forget about all the work that you did for it.
Well, exactly on that. I used to really negatively view luck. I still, I think luck gets misconstrued with timing. I think I look at luck and I see luck as being lazy. I see, say, inverted commas, luck as being a timing thing, that you do the hard work, you put the effort in, and you get yourself to a position to be ready, that when an opportunity comes, you're the best foot forward going into that opportunity, rather than getting an opportunity and stumbling through it. At least you're in a better place because you've done the work previously to crack into it and get some shit done. So I see luck as a dirty word. Yeah,
that's really insightful. There's negative connotations assigned with it. It really is.
Take winning the lottery, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you read the Barefoot Investor book?
No, because I don't have an ING bank account. You can always tell who has, because they have an ING bank card. Okay.
Well, I haven't. Anyway, I don't. I have. I'm with Commonwealth. Brilliant. He talks about in the book, winning the lotto, and that if you win the lotto, it can go quite pear-shaped for you quite quickly, because you haven't earned that.
Yeah.
You haven't earned that money. It's not really, you don't deserve it. So winning the lotto isn't something that you deserve. Like I remember once I knew a woman that purchased a lotto ticket on the way home from work. I'll just call him, bugger, I'm going to get one. Next day, bang, she wins it. Top, first division, however much. I don't know. I don't think they fully disclosed how much. They're like, so many people were like, are you totally deserve this. This is, of all the people, she's like, fuck off. I do not deserve this. I'm in a really well-paying job. I'm quite well off. I don't need it. We got it. Do you know what I mean? But she totally didn't deserve it. And I think of that as like really negative luck, because it can go really badly for you. Mm-hmm. So I think when opportunities, or it can't, sometimes some people do really well out of it. I think that's maybe a 50-50. I don't know what the odds are of someone winning and doing really well out of it. I think you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But I think it's a wolf sheep's clothing thing. I think that's what luck is. I think luck is the false hope that you've been given an opportunity that you're not ready for.
Yep.
And that's what I think about luck nowadays, especially being an actor and an entrepreneur. I think that timing is everything, and then I think hard work leads into timing, and once the opportunity comes, which they inevitably do, you just got to be awake to them.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with going back to when I quit. It was a timing. I feathered through the years being like, I'm going to quit, and tried to at one point, and just came back to it, and it's just like... So you tried to quit before? Oh, well, when I became a model, like that was that stage, just playing around, and it's that luck. It's, maybe this was my big break, or, it's just because I worked a little harder for it. I thought about it a little bit more. That thing around value as well is an interesting topic, because if you're not... and thinking about the lottery as well, if you haven't worked for it, then you don't value it. Yeah. And so it comes back to this thought where, if you haven't paid for it or haven't had some sort of exchange for what you are receiving, then you can take it for granted. And so that comes back to this health and wellness space as well. And people, just not wanting to pay for yoga, or thinking that they don't have to pay for it, where it's an exchange. If you don't pay for something, or if you don't give something for it, then are you getting the benefits out of it?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because that also works with exercise specifically, and diet. I think that works for...
You're not attached to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that crosses over with not just like in a monetary sense, but if you're not putting in, like for diet's a perfect example for that. Like if you're not putting into the diet, you're not working hard on a healthy diet and remaining consistent and disciplined, you're not going to get the full benefit out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I know I'm a huge proponent of chocolate.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I'm a sucker for it.
Big time.
Yeah, but I still work really hard to maintain as best a healthy diet as I can that sort of a modern lifestyle affords. So it's hard. Like we're so much more strapped for time now. I know I definitely am. And it's being especially where we are, like in the city. There's so many things around us.
Yeah.
Especially supermarkets.
Yeah.
I think supermarkets are actually quite a limited choice on what you can. There's hardly anything you can grab at the supermarket that's quick. Do you know what I mean? You've got to cook everything. but it's not.
That's probably a good thing.
So I don't know. That's kind of where it's at. So we're now. What's next? What have you learnt, do you think, from this, and where are you going?
I have got some goals for more, and I guess that word more is, a few different things. There's more for the space. There's more for the studio brand itself. Yeah. More for me as well. So, whilst I have the studio, I am not just doing that. I've still got clients in health and wellness space and doing that sort of thing, and really launching that side of what I do as well. So having the studio is just one component under my umbrella of things that I do. This year every year I teach at RMIT too. So I teach advertising, account management at RMIT. I've just finished marking many, many, many assignments, which is happy. It's good to get rid of those. That's done. A few fails, it's all right. And
failing's good.
Failing's good. They learn. It doesn't. You can still fail subject and get a good job in advertising, no worries, mate. So it's just how you approach it, how you take it on. But there's still all of those things going on with me as well. So what's next? What's next for the studio is just kind of maintaining that growth and really seeing it flourish and just be its own little unique resource and lifestyle, and just keep ticking over and doing its thing, being magic to all people.
Yep. Crazy. What would you say to people that do want to transition in their life where they're not 100% happy with what's going on, and they're having those moments of what the fuck am I doing in this job, or what am I doing in this position? Not just necessarily a job, but what am I doing in this position?
Yeah. Well, people can get, addicted to that sense of routine and the security of a job. And it can be a task, it can be a bit of a battle to just break that habit.
Sure.
It's like the chocolate. You'll always go back to eating the chocolate if you can, because you like it.
Can we not bring chocolate into the
Sorry, I'm in the same boat as well. When I see something on special, I'll buy it.
I am a sucker for specials. It's 2 for $5. I'm like, fuck, I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bargain. Yeah.
I'm practically making money. So, moving on.
Yeah, that's great. But if you I've lost my train of thought now. Where was I?
Oh, fuck.
Now I'm just chocolate.
We're going discipline.
Discipline. And it's really about taking that step back away from what's continuing to bring you down, or continuing to bring these thoughts up of what you don't like or not enjoying about what you're doing. And that's a challenge, because you actually have to do the work. You actually have to pull yourself away. It's, if you think about luck, it's not just going to happen.
No.
You actually have to do something about it. You can't just keep complaining about it and doing the same things and assuming that it's going to be okay. And you can have goals and things like that, but if you don't have some sort of plan or thought about how you can actually make it happen, and some sort of stability of income or security, or something that can kind of last you for X amount of time, where you can give yourself some time to work it out, then it's going to seem like an impossible mission.
Yeah.
So there's another thing to it as well. It's just having that trust with yourself. And that's one thing that's hard to give yourself during those harder times as well. If you're really in the thick of hating what you're doing and bringing it into the world, then you're not in this place of trust to yourself. You don't trust the actions, the decisions that you're going to make. So it does come back to taking a step back and doing a bit of self-reflection, which, it's not a woo-woo word. Anyone can do that self-reflection and just kind of work out what you're wanting to bring to the world.
Do you think that's because I think there might be a lot of people out there that just still hear words and then don't know what to do with them. Yeah. And so like mentoring, or I often say to sometimes I say to people, it doesn't matter what you do, just do something, just make a decision, even if that decision's wrong. Because I think there's almost a fear culture in the society at the moment, where people are afraid of failing and afraid of getting something wrong, or if they close one chapter, they're afraid the next chapter is not the right one, and they're constantly searching for the next right chapter. And I think I often say to people, just do something, just pick something, doesn't matter what it is, just do something, just be active.
Yeah, because absolutely. It will all lead to the right place. So if you're doing something that comes back to something that you want to own, something that you hold near and dear to your heart, your values, then it will all lead. Like, everything comes back to home. Everything will come back to home. It might not happen straight away, or it might not be a direct step. But it's a step in the right direction. It's not a backward step.
Yep. Yeah. Crazy. Insightful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that feels like a natural step for this. It feels like this is a sort of nice little way to conclude it.
Yeah.
So speaking of conclusion, what is your studio? Because we haven't even mentioned it once.
No.
Speaking of branding.
We let the words speak for themselves.
Yeah.
My studio is Radiant Soul Yoga in Port Melbourne.
Where can people find you?
radiantsoul.com.au.
Yeah.
And on Instagram at Radiant Soul Yoga. I think it is. Yeah. If you type in Radiant Soul, it will come up.
Yeah, you're usually the top hit on Google.
Yeah. It is actually, we have great Google ranks, Google reviews as well. Those things are super important for any business.
Google reviews, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, my mother has a cafe in New Zealand, like a small one in the town that I grew up in. And I remember saying to her when she took it over, I said, because a lot of people go through that town to get to touristy destinations in New Zealand. And I said, you've got to get on the Google reviews. You've got to, people started reviewing it, but you've got to start owning it. And by like that, I mean managing it so that you write into Google, I own the store, I want to manage, and then they send you the big steps that they do, the letter and all that, you text to email, fucking code stuff, because so many people are on their phone now, Google Maps, looking up where they're going, what they want to do next, and they look at the reviews.
Yeah.
That is how they choose the photos. They go, oh, it looks good, looks like something I want to eat. What are the reviews? What are people saying about it? Is it more than 4 stars? What are people saying about it? It's such a huge component. And
it comes back to that branding.
And it's a free component too.
Not letting you go in the way. Yeah, free. It's great. Free component. Yeah. It will do wonders for your business.
Yeah. Crazy. Is there anything else that any like little closing statement that you want to say?
Just be good to yourself.
Okay.
Just take a deep breath. Just, listen to yourself and see where that leads you. If you're not where you are right now, just have hope and trust yourself that you'll be able to make some calls and get there eventually. Just be you.
Wise words.
Thank you.
Powerful. Thank you so much for jumping on the show. It's been an absolute refreshing, positive experience for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
No worries. Catch ya.
Bye.
And there we have it. So thank you very much, guys, everyone out there for listening. Without you, this is not worth it. I genuinely mean that. Thank you to Danielle for coming on the show and having a chat with me. Heaps of fun. Great chat. Thank you to everyone out there that's supporting the show by liking it and subscribing to it. It really, really genuinely helps. It pushes me up, lifts me up, and gives me a reason to get more guests on. Hope you liked the show. I loved it. There's some more guests coming up this week that I've got lined up that I'm really excited about. It's going to be a busy one. So until then, be cool, stay safe, be radical, and see you later.